A bucket, a handful of straw, a little something most folks pour down the drain. That is all it takes to pull thousands of mosquitoes out of the air around your home. Not dozens, thousands. And they never fly back out. I have watched it happen with my own eyes on a still July evening in Lancaster County, the kind of evening when the air hangs thick and the bugs come up off the creek in clouds. My grandfather set one of these traps by the spring house when I was a boy. By morning, the water was dark with them. He did not buy a single thing to make it. He did not plug anything into a wall, because we had no wall to plug into. And here is the part that will stick with you. The big companies that sell those blue zappers and those foggers and those little plug-in machines, they have no reason to tell you any of this. None at all. Because the day you learn it, you stop handing them your money. So stay with me. Right around the middle of this, I am going to show you the exact recipe my community has used for generations. The thing that turns a plain bucket into a trap that outcatches a machine costing $150. It costs you less than a cup of coffee. Before I go on, do me one small favor. Tell me down in the comments which state you are in and whether your mosquitoes come worst at dawn or at dusk. I read every one, and it tells me a great deal about what is biting you. Now let me tell you why this matters more than you think. You know the sound. That high, thin whine right next to your ear in the dark. You slap at it and you miss. You turn on the light and there is nothing there. You lie back down and it comes again. You go out to sit on your own porch, the porch you worked your whole life to own, and you cannot stay 10 minutes. Your ankles itch. The back of your neck itches. You go inside defeated in your own home on a warm evening that should have been yours. I have watched neighbors, good English neighbors, spend a small fortune trying to win this fight. Let me lay out what that fight actually costs you, because I do not think most folks ever add it up. A single bottle of the spray you rub on your skin runs $8, $9, $10, and you go through it in a few weeks. Call it $60 across the summer if you have a family. The citronella candles, $3 or $4 each, and they burn down to nothing in a couple of evenings, and the mosquitoes drift right through the smoke like it was never there. The propane foggers, some of those run $300 and up, and then you are buying the fuel and the chemical cartridges all season long. The bug zappers. Oh, the zappers. That blue glow on the patio that makes the satisfying little crackle. You feel like you are winning. You are not. There is research on this, and I will get to it, but I will tell you right now, those zappers kill almost everything except the thing you are trying to kill. Add it up over 10 years, and the average homeowner pours well over $1,000 into this problem and still gets bitten, still slaps at the air, still goes inside early. That is the part that troubles me, not the money alone, though the waste of it is a shame. It is that you were sold a war you were never meant to win, because if you ever truly solved it, the buying would stop. We never bought any of it. We could not, and so we had to actually understand the creature instead. We had to learn how a mosquito thinks, if you can call it thinking, and use that against her. And once you understand that, the whole thing becomes almost simple. Let me tell you the first thing my grandfather taught me, because it changes everything. It is the female that bites. Only the female. The males drift around the flowers and live a short, gentle life and never trouble a soul. The female needs blood for one reason. She needs it to make her eggs. That is the whole of it. She is not hunting you for sport. She is a mother looking for a nursery. And here is what nobody selling you a spray wants you to sit with. She does not lay those eggs just anywhere. She lays them in still water, standing water, a puddle, a clogged gutter, an old tire, the saucer under your flower pot, the dish under the dog's water bowl, the fold in a tarp where the rain collected. A female mosquito can smell that still water from a long way off. She is drawn to it the way you are drawn to the smell of bread baking, and she will lay 200 eggs at a time in a spot no bigger than a bottle cap. Now think about what that means. Every mosquito biting you tonight was born in water within about a city block of where you are standing. Not from the woods a mile off, from your yard or your neighbors, from water you walk past every single day and never see. So my grandfather did not try to kill the grown mosquitoes one by one in the air. That is a fool's errand. That is what the zapper sells you, the feeling of killing them one crackle at a time while 1,000 more are being born in the rain barrel. No, he went After the nursery, he turned their own instinct into the trap. He gave the mother exactly what she was looking for, the perfect still water nursery, and he made sure that not one of her children would ever leave it alive. And that is the whole secret in one sentence. You do not chase the mosquito, you invite her in and make it a dead end. And that is the whole secret in one sentence. You do not chase the mosquito, you invite her to lay her eggs in a place you control, and then you make that place a dead end. The English have a fancy name for this now. The university folks call it an ovitrap or a gravid trap, gravid meaning a female heavy with eggs. There are research papers on it going back years. The University of Florida and a few others have studied these things hard. And every paper lands right back on what my grandfather did with a bucket and a handful of straw before any of those folks were born. Now, folks ask me all the time where I learned to put all of this together in one place. The honest answer is that it came from a lifetime of watching and writing it down. If you want the full collection of these old methods gathered in one place, the pest cures, the soil knowledge, the storage secrets my community has kept for generations, I put them into a set of guides called the Garden Blueprint and the Harvest Blueprint, and you can find them together as the Complete Garden Field Edition. The link is in the description. A one-time cost of $97, and everything you need to stop paying the industry for problems the old ways already solved. Pennies on the dollar compared to what a single summer of sprays and foggers will cost you. Now let me build you that trap. Step by step, exactly the way my grandfather built it. You take a bucket, dark colored if you have it, because she likes a dark shady spot for her nursery, the same way she likes the shade under your deck. A 5-gallon bucket is fine. A black plastic one is better than a shiny one. You fill it about halfway with water, plain water from the hose. Now here is the first thing that matters, and it is the thing most folks get wrong. Clean, fresh water does not interest her much. She is not looking for clean water. She is looking for water that smells alive. Water that smells like rotting leaves and pond muck, because that tells her there will be food in there for her babies when they hatch. Her young feed on the tiny bits of decay in the water. So you make the water stink just a little on purpose. You take a handful of grass clippings or a few dead leaves or a little straw from the barn and you drop it in. Then you let that bucket sit in a warm, shady corner for 3 or 4 days. By the 3rd day, that water has gone a touch cloudy and it has a smell to it. To you, it is unpleasant. To a mother mosquito, it is the finest nursery in the whole county. She will fly right past your clean bird bath to get to it. You have just become the most attractive place for miles. Every pregnant female in your yard is now headed for your bucket instead of your gutters and your flower saucers and your rain barrel. But here is where it has to become a trap and not just a breeding ground. Because if you stop here, you have done a terrible thing. You have built them a hotel. You have made the problem worse. Those eggs will hatch and you will have helped raise the very swarm that bites you. So stay close, because this next part is the whole thing. This is the part that turns the hotel into the dead end. And it is the part I promised you, the part that costs less than a cup of coffee. Here is how my people close the door. The young mosquito, the little wriggler in the water, the one the books call a larva, has one weakness you can use against her. She does not breathe the water like a fish. She has a little tube like a tiny snorkel, and she hangs upside down just under the surface and pokes that tube up into the air to breathe. She has to reach the surface. She has to touch the air. If she cannot reach the air, she drowns. It is the strangest thing, a creature born in water that can drown in water, but that is exactly how she is built. So all you have to do is take away the surface, make it so that little snorkel cannot break through to the air. And how did my grandfather do that? With no store and no chemicals, a spoonful of oil. That is it. A thin film of plain cooking oil across the top of the water. The oil spreads out into a sheet, so thin you can barely see it. But to that little larva, it is a ceiling she cannot pass. She swims up. She pushes her tube against it. The oil clings to the tube and seals it shut, and she cannot breathe. Within a day, every wriggler in that bucket is gone, and the eggs that hatch the next day, gone too. The mother flies in, lays her 200 eggs in what she thinks is the perfect pond, and not one of them ever crawls back out into the air. A tablespoon of vegetable oil per gallon of water. That is all. The oil my wife fries with. The oil already in your kitchen right now. A few cents worth. You drop it on the surface and you let it spread on its own. You do not stir it. You want it to lie flat across the top like a skin. Now I can hear the question already, because the English always ask it, and it is a fair one. Does that not poison the yard? Does it not hurt the birds, the bees, the cat? No. And this is the beauty my grandfather understood without a single college class. The oil does not poison anything. It does not get into the soil. It does no chemical harm at all. It simply takes away the air at the surface of one bucket of water. A bird that drinks from it is fine. A bee is fine. It only matters to a creature that must hang upside down from the surface to breathe, and that is the mosquito larva and almost nothing else. Compare that to the chemical foggers the English spray across their whole yard. Those kill the bees. Those kill the ladybugs and the lacewings and the dragonflies, and the dragonfly, mind you, is the mosquito's greatest natural enemy. A single dragonfly eats hundreds of mosquitoes a day. So the fogger kills your best ally and leaves the puddle in the gutter untouched, and the swarm comes right back, and you spray again, and you buy again. Do you see the trick of it now? Do you see how the whole thing is built to keep you coming back? A bucket of stinky water and a spoon of oil ends it for a few pennies in one spot, harming nothing but the thing you want gone. And it does not just protect you, it pulls the breeding population down for the whole block, because every female that lays in your trap is a female who did not lay 200 eggs in your neighbor's gutter. My grandfather called it gathering them in, the same way you would gather eggs from one nest instead of chasing chickens all over the yard. Now let me give you the small details that make the difference between a trap that catches a few and a trap that catches thousands, because the details are everything, and this is where the old knowledge really shows. First, location. You do not put the bucket out in the bright open lawn. She does not nurse her young in the sun. You tuck it in the shade against the north side of the house, under a bush, behind the shed. The shadier and stiller and more forgotten the corner, the better she likes it. Think like a creature looking for somewhere quiet and dark to leave her babies, and put it there. Second, stillness. The spot must be out of the wind. She will not lay in choppy water. A sheltered corner where the surface stays like glass, that is what she wants. Third, and this is the one folks forget, you have to refresh it. Every week, maybe every 2 weeks in the cool of the season, you tip the old bucket out, not into the storm drain, just onto the dry ground or the gravel where it will soak away and dry, and you start again. Fresh water, fresh handful of grass, let it ripen, fresh skin of oil. Why tip it out? Because a mosquito goes from egg to flying adult in about 8 to 10 days when it is hot. Some can do it faster, so you never, ever let a trap go untended past a week in high summer, or you risk one batch sneaking through the oil if the film has thinned or broken up in the heat. Keep the film whole and keep the cycle short, and nothing escapes. And here is a number worth holding on to. The studies on these gravid traps, the real ones done at universities, found that a single well-placed trap can pull in and destroy several hundred to well over 1,000 larvae in a single week of warm weather. Put 2 or 3 around the property and you are cutting off many thousands of mosquitoes a month before a single one of them ever grows wings to bite you. Several traps, a few buckets you already own, a handful of grass that costs nothing, a spoon of oil against a problem the industry charges you hundreds of dollars a year to never quite solve. Now I want to speak to something because I know who is listening. I know some of you are sitting there thinking, this is fine for a young fellow setting up a new place, but my yard is old, my yard is settled, I have got the garden in, the flower beds done, the patio poured 20 years ago, I cannot go tearing things up. You do not have to, not one bit. In fact, an old, established yard is where this works best, and I will tell you why, and I will give you something you can do this very weekend with nothing but your own 2 hands. An old yard has hiding spots a new yard does not. 20 years of living means 20 years of little water traps you have stopped seeing. The clogged gutter behind the porch, the old wheelbarrow tipped against the fence with 2 inches of rain in the bottom, the bird bath you never change, The saucers under all those potted plants on the patio, the fold in the pool cover, the corrugated drain pipe with a low spot that never empties, the dog's water bowl, the kink in the garden hose where water pools, the crook of the downspout, the old tire swing with rainwater inside the tire. This weekend, do not buy anything. Just walk your property slowly, the way my grandfather walked his fence line every spring, and look for water. Any water that has sat still for more than a few days is a nursery, and it is feeding the swarm that bites you. When you find it, you have two choices, and both cost nothing. If you do not need the water, tip it out and turn the container over so it cannot fill again. That alone, just that walk, will cut your mosquitoes more than any spray you have ever bought, because you are taking out the nurseries instead of swatting the grown ones. But for the water, you cannot get rid of. The bird bath you want for the songbirds, the rain barrel you keep for the garden, the low spot in the yard that floods every storm, you do the oil trick right there. A spoon of oil on the bird bath, refreshed when you change the water. For the rain barrel, where you do not want oil because you are watering vegetables with it, you put fine screen mesh over the top. Window screen, so she cannot get down to the water at all. A few dollars of screen and a bungee cord, and that barrel is sealed against her forever. And here is the one for the low wet spot in the yard. The boggy place that will not drain, the thing you cannot pour out and cannot screen. This is older than I am, and the English researchers confirmed it only recently. You take a few pellets, the kind made from a natural soil bacteria, sold cheap at any farm store. Folks call them mosquito dunks. But long before there was a product on the shelf, my people knew the simpler version. A handful of cornmeal, or better, a small amount of dish soap. 1 drop of plain dish soap in a standing puddle breaks the surface tension of the water the very same way the oil does, and the larva can no longer hang from the surface to breathe. It is the cheapest thing in your house. 1 drop per small puddle. Done. So no, this is not for new yards. This is for your yard, the one you have lived in and loved and let a few quiet puddles hide in for years. You can fix it this weekend on foot for free. But now I am going to tell you the part I have been holding back, the finale, the thing that takes this from a good trap to a trap that catches mosquitoes by the thousand, the way the old folks did it. And this is the part that almost got lost, the part the plain people kept using while the outside world forgot it entirely. Here it is. A plain bucket of stinky water with oil on top will catch the females nearby. Good. But there is a way to make that bucket call to mosquitoes from a far greater distance. To make it the loudest dinner bell for miles, so they come to it from your neighbor's yard and the field beyond and the creek bank, all of them flying to your trap instead of to you. And the secret is the smell. The exact smell. For the longest time, even the university folks knew the dirty water worked, but they could not say exactly why one batch of water pulled in 5 times the mosquitoes of another. Then the researchers got it. There is real published work on this, and it confirmed what my grandfather did by instinct. It is not just any rot, it is fermented grass. Specifically, hay or grass that has been left to steep and ferment in the water for several days until certain bacteria bloom in it. Those bacteria give off a particular set of smells, and to a pregnant mosquito, those smells scream the perfect nursery, far louder than plain pond water ever could. In the studies, water steeped with fermented grass clippings drew dramatically more egg-laying females than fresh water, several times more, measured and counted. My grandfather did not have the word bacteria. He called it letting the water work. He would take a handful of hay from the barn, the loose, dusty hay off the floor, and he would put it in the bucket and set it in the sun for about 5 days before he ever wanted the trap to be at its strongest. He timed it. He knew the water had to ripen. So here is the finale, the full recipe, the way to make your trap roar instead of whisper. About 5 days before mosquito season hits hard, or before a big gathering, a family reunion, a church supper in the yard, you start your water. Bucket half full. A generous double handful of grass clippings or loose hay. You set it in a warm spot, even in the sun for these few days, because warmth speeds the bacteria. You let it steep 4 to 5 days until it smells strong and earthy and a little sour, stronger than you think you need. Then and only then you move it to the shady, sheltered corner where the females like to lay, and you lay your skin of oil across the top. Now you have both halves of the secret at once. The fermented water calls them in from a distance no fresh bucket ever could. And the oil makes sure that every single one that answers the call dies before she can leave. The louder the dinner bell, the more come. And the more come, the more the oil takes. That is how you go from catching a few dozen to catching thousands. The ferment is the magnet. The oil is the trap. One without the other is only half the answer, and that is the half the outside world remembered while it forgot the rest. You can add one more thing if you want to be thorough, and the researchers found this too. A small piece of dark cloth or dark screen draped at the rim, or simply a darker bucket, increases the catch again because she is drawn to dark surfaces near the water to rest on. Little things. But little things stacked together are how a handful of grass beats a $150 machine. And let me close the loop on those machines, because I promised I would. The studies on the bug zappers, the blue light ones, are almost funny if they were not such a waste. When the researchers counted what those zappers actually killed, the mosquitoes were a tiny fraction of it. The great majority of what they fried was harmless night insects, moths and beetles and the like, including the very insects that other helpful creatures eat. Mosquitoes are barely drawn to that blue light at all. They are drawn to your breath, the carbon dioxide you exhale, and to your warmth and your sweat. The zapper does not smell like breath. You do. So the zapper crackles away all night, killing the innocent, while the mosquito flies right past it to find you in your chair. You were sold a nightlight that kills butterflies and lets the mosquitoes through. And you paid good money for it. And the company that sold it to you knew, because the research was right there, that it would never solve your problem. If it solved your problem, you would not be back next summer. That is the whole game, not just with zappers, with all of it. An entire industry, shelves and shelves of it, foggers and sprays and candles and torches and clip-on fans and machines, built not to end the mosquito, but to manage your hope, to sell you just enough relief that you keep coming back, and never so much that the buying stops. My people were never part of that, not because we were clever, but because we had no store to go to and no money to spend there. We had to look at the creature honestly and beat it with what the good Lord already put in front of us. Water, grass, a spoon of oil. The mosquito's own hunger to be a mother turned against her. And here is the thing that stays with me. Everything I just told you, the university folks have now proven paper after paper. The fermented grass, the oil film breaking the surface, the dark sheltered placement, the 8 to 10 day cycle, the dragonflies the foggers kill. They measured all of it, and they were a little surprised. And what they proved was simply this. The old way worked. It worked all along. The plain people were right to keep doing it while everyone else was buying the next new thing off the shelf. So let me put it all in your hands now, plain and simple, so you have it whole. Walk your yard this weekend and find the still water. Tip out what you can. Turn the containers over. That walk alone is the single biggest thing you will ever do against mosquitoes, and it is free. For the water you must keep, screen the rain barrel, oil the bird bath, a drop of dish soap in the puddles you cannot drain, then build your real trap. A dark bucket, half full, a double handful of grass or hay, steeped 4 or 5 days in a warm spot until it smells strong. Move it to a shady, wind-sheltered corner. Lay a tablespoon of oil per gallon across the top so the surface goes to a thin skin. Refresh it every week in the heat, every 2 weeks when it cools. Set out 2 or 3 around the property. Do that, and you will sit on your porch on a July evening, the thick, still evening when the air used to drive you indoors, and you will stay out. You will hear the crickets instead of that whine by your ear. Your ankles will be your own again. And it will have cost you, all told, less than one of those candles that never worked. You did not lose this knowledge because you were foolish. You lost it because somebody profited from you losing it. Quietly, year after year, you were charged for what nature was handing out for free, and you were told the free way was old and the bought way was better, and it was not. It never was. You are the kind of person who would rather understand a thing than be sold a thing. I can tell, because you are still here at the end, while the folks looking for a magic spray clicked away long ago. You would rather do it yourself, with your own hands, with something you already own than hand your money to a company that was never going to fix your problem on purpose. That is not being cheap. That is being free. My grandfather would have called it good stewardship, not wasting what you have been given and not being made a fool of twice. So here is what I ask of you. Go back up to that comment box and tell me, which state are you in? And do your mosquitoes come worst at dawn or at dusk? Tell me, too, if you have got a spot you think is the source, the gutter, the low place, the old barrel, and I will do my best to tell you the quickest way to shut it down. Do not just read and move on. Leave the comment. It helps me know who is out here and what is biting you, and it helps the next person who finds this find the answer faster. And if you are the sort who is tired of overpaying for what the old ways already gave us for free, then come along with me. There are a good many of us now quietly putting back together the practical know-how the modern world set aside, the plain knowledge my grandfather and his grandfather never let go of. That is what this, not a channel, a gathering of folks who would rather know than buy. Because next time, I am going to show you something just as forgotten. There is a single common plant, one you can grow in a pot by your door, that the old folks crushed and rubbed on their skin and their animals to keep the biting flies and the mosquitoes off, and it works better than the bottled stuff. And the university tested it and was startled by the number. I will tell you which plant and exactly how to use it, so the bugs leave you be without a drop of chemical on your skin. Until then, go find your still water, set your bucket, and take your evenings back. I'm Eli, and if you're still here with me, you're my kind of person. Inside the Amish Field Circle, I share the full mosquito breeding trap recipe, picking up right where I left off. In there, you can ask me your own question, and I answer you myself. A real person, not a machine. You'll belong among old ways growers just like you. Just point your phone's camera at the code on the screen, and you can cancel anytime. No risk at all. If this simple trap helped you, there's plenty more like it waiting right here. Go ahead and subscribe, then look around. I've got many more old Amish tricks to share with you.